It is 10 o'clock on the west coast of the United States. It is 0500 GMT. This is cBas After Dark for the 6th of May, 2015. Thank you for being here. We are looking at a very special kind of edition of the program. Let's see here. This is our MediaWatch Wednesday report, and it's all about Comcast. You ever have cable? If you hate cable as much as a lot of people I know do, this is going to be an hour for you. We've got to look at many of the recent complaints about the folks at Comcast, the customer service nightmares that they've gone through, many of them are entirely their own fault. As I was compiling this show, I thought it would be very interesting to actually look at the apologies kind of compiled. So I've made a list of the different apologies that Comcast has sort of put together or offered people as time has gone on, because I wondered if there would be a sameness to any of it, and indeed there is a sameness to the certain kind of way they say they're sorry to the people who they've done wrong. This is not the customer experience we wanted to have happen, blah, 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 blah. Comcast has done everything from get people fired from their jobs for complaining about their service in the wrong way, to torturing people and not letting them, get online, ruining people's credit, failing to meet appointments, you know what I'm saying, all the usual complaints people have about cable companies, but it's actually much worse than that. And I've compiled a whole list of stories where it's going to be a really fascinating experience to look at all of these. And so I'm going to ask you to join me for a very interesting hour. And I think the best place to start probably is to start with the most new news story, which is the one from today, where there's going to be a new guy in charge of Comcast, and he's actually kind of swearing that the folks at Comcast are going to be looking at customer service in a new way. They're going to be drastically trying to improve their customer service. Well, we've heard this before, and so on and so forth. But I do think it's worth looking at these stories, worth listening to the phone calls that people have recorded. Very often we've seen that the complaints go unsolved. All of a sudden, these Comcast people are unable to help until they hear that there's been a recording made of a phone call, or until somebody has gone to the news media or a journalist or something like that, until they go on Twitter and publicly say, hey, Comcast ruined my credit for a $350 bill that they were mistaken on in the first place. It's going to make your blood boil, and it's going to be a really good hour. So do stay with me through a lot of this. First and foremost, I want to start with the news about the new Comcast guy. I think in the past couple of days, we've seen the new Comcast guy, new Comcast, not CEO, but like major person. This from Fortune magazine yesterday. Let me switch over to the Fortune magazine website, and you can see what I'm seeing here. Beset by big customer service issues and problems, Comcast is promising what they call a big fix. I mean, many of us will believe it when we see it, but this is as of yesterday, as of like 24 hours ago, actually, this story from the folks at Comcast. Here's a 1 minute and 53-second story. Let's start off with this. Are my speakers working? Okay, good. Let's play this here and see what it says. I actually have not reviewed this video yet. Is this a commercial? Yes, this is a damn commercial. So let's not read the commercial. Let's read the article. To fix its customer service woes, the cable giant is hiring thousands of new call center workers, revamping its stores, and instituting mandatory service training. But any improvement, will likely take years. That ad is still fucking playing, so I'm about to give up on it. Comcast really wants to fix its notoriously poor customer service. No, really this time. Empirically, we've been on track, going in the right direction, says CEO Brian Roberts in a room full of journalists. Here's that story.
We've got to get the customer experience down. We've got to make that our best product.
In all cases, we're not easy to do business with.
Hot on the heels of its failed merger with Time Warner Cable, Comcast is taking a different approach to bolster its business. The company says it wants to fix its customer service problem by creating a culture focused on exceeding customers' expectations. Creating that culture starts by hiring more than 2,000 people to staff customer support centers in New Mexico, Washington, and Arizona. All told, Comcast says it plans to create 5,500 new jobs geared toward customer service improvements. And you may remember Comcast launched a trial in late 2014 that let some customers track technicians in real time. Comcast is taking the service nationwide and says its technicians will strive to never be late to an appointment. If the technician is late, customers receive an automatic $20 credit to their account. It seems like quite the turnaround for a company that's notorious for its poor customer service.
Yeah.
Twice in the past 5 years, Consumerist awarded Comcast with its annual Worst Company.
Okay, so Consumerist named them the worst company in America. We're going to take a look at Consumerist because Consumerist is the main sort of blog behind many of these stories that we've seen and heard regarding Comcast. And in particular, the one story of a man named O'Rourke who worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers. And he was the one who I referenced. Let me just bring up the story briefly because this story is absolutely beyond the pale. And in fact, this also has a really new update as of the past couple of months. From the folks at Ars Technica, let's take a look at this next story because holy mother of God, you really can't believe what this went through. In fact, I really don't want to start with this story. I feel like I should sort of do the background first, but this is a guy who has sued Comcast because Comcast got him fired, and now they're smearing his name. Conal O'Rourke is his name. Settlement talks have collapsed. He has a lawsuit, and now he's raised the demanded amount for more than $5 million. Let's see here. Let's look at this version of the story first because it talks about O'Rourke met with Ars Technica back in October last year. Comcast got me fired after a billing dispute, says this man. Comcast is a very valuable client to the folks at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and that's where he worked. He had really detailed lists of how Comcast misbilled him. He has a spreadsheet, photos, notes, business cards, complaint letters, pages and pages of Comcast invoices. He and his lawyer happily provided digital copies of all of the materials to Ars Technica, which they've republished with his permission here. As a result of his firing, he's hired an attorney and is now threatening to file a lawsuit, which he did because Comcast would not agree to his demands. O'Rourke first moved to California in early 2012 after 20 years for working for Anderson Consulting, later Accenture, most recently as part of the corporate controller division. During his career, he developed skills in accounting, financial analysis, and auditing, skills that proved useful in his eventual dispute with Comcast. He moved to a new place in San Jose and signed up for TV and internet service with Comcast since the only other competitive service, AT&T's Uverse, was not available to him. He was roped into Comcast, and with Comcast, his problems soon began, he says. His first issues began when 6 weeks after service, he had yet to receive a bill. After receiving his first bill in April 2013, he noticed a number of problems. For one thing, his name was misspelled. That's an issue they say that never got corrected. They were charging him for 3 additional HD outlets for an extra fee of $26.25 a month. He also was charged for cable boxes he says he never activated. He planned on moving 2 additional TVs later on into his condo after allegedly being promised that he wouldn't be charged for those cable boxes. He was charged anyway. Finally, as part of a promotional deal, he says he was promised HBO and other premium channels for 9 months, but they went away after 3. He called multiple times to get these issues resolved. When they weren't, he finally walked into his nearest Comcast store. He met with the assistant store manager, who gave him a business card, gave him his personal cell phone number, promises that it'll all be addressed and we're going to look at it all. Then the real problems began. For the next few months, he was under deadlines at work and couldn't really focus on his problems with Comcast. By October 2013, he said his internet speeds suddenly dropped off and were unworkable. He contacted them regarding lack of responsiveness and performance issues. Sometimes his service wouldn't be usable, and he had to hotspot in with AT&T. Again, he called, and again, Comcast promised to correct the problem, sometimes by sending technicians, but according to O'Rourke, the company never did. He spent part of November and December that year traveling. He was surprised when he returned to find several boxes at his doorstep containing 12 bits of equipment. Okay, these are the documentation he's provided. I didn't really mean to click that. Let's go back. 12 12 pieces of equipment, and a December 2013 monthly bill for over $2,000, including $1,800 in equipment he insists he did not order. According to the 2013 December invoice, he was charged for devices including an AnyRoom Hub 420 and a Pace Host 110. The last day of December 30th that year, he carried those various boxes back, walked into the same Comcast store to return the gear and get his issues resolved. When he took a service ticket at $159, he discovered he was $395, but the store was only on $251. Rather than spend his afternoon at the store, he came up with a plan. They close at 7, so he thought, I'm going to go at 6:45 p.m. Then someone will have a fire underneath them to address these problems. I have had it up to here, he says. There's his ticket with the number 395, and I guess he took a picture saying which number was being served at 2:51 at 1:59 p.m. The documentation here is really astounding. A Comcast employee named so-and-so helped him, took back the equipment, cleared the charges, but still that didn't get to the root of the errors that had now been a long time, at least 6 months. Ours sent an email to this guy, which bounced. I provided him with the detailed spreadsheet, and he asked if I could send it to him, and he would take a look. The next day, December 31st, he did so, but he responded that the spreadsheet never came through. I sent it again. Then at the end of the day, I asked for follow-up and never heard back. This guy was fucking with him. January 2014. He was frustrated because he felt he had done everything. He sent him an email that was hopeful would ignite him to do something. What he did was show Dublias by email that I sarcastically wrote a letter to Comcast Senior Vice President Lawrence Salva, recommending Dublias for Employee of the Month award. I wrote it up, but didn't put it in the mail. I wanted to give Dublias an opportunity to fix the problem. The letter included the lines like, the reason why I've chosen to nominate the San Jose Center is simple. Their blatant disregard for the customer has made resolving my issues next to impossible. This is a great letter. This behavior has proven to be quite profitable, as I, like most customers, just throw their hands up in exasperation. However, now that I'm no longer exasperated, I intend on following up my concerns. O'Rourke heard nothing. The billing errors persisted. Comcast sent a collections agency after him. He doesn't order pay-per-view. He explained to the collections agency it can't be right that they want $300. They were insistent. He walked them through it, but he had yet to receive a bill without a mistake. And he'd been a customer for nearly a year. That's when he decided to contact Lawrence Salva, the Philadelphia-based controller of Comcast, who oversees the division of the company that deals with accounting. Vice president, I think he was by this point. He spoke at length with the executive assistant, describing all the problems. As his call included, the assistant said she would have another Comcast employee contact him directly. An hour later, he got a second call from an individual who doesn't identify herself except as Evelyn, but says she's with Comcast. O'Rourke says if she knew why she was calling, asked her if she knew why she was calling, to which she responded, it had something to do with missed appointments. He laughed because they missed so many appointments, he didn't even know which one they were talking about. When he tried to explain the situation, he said Evelyn began to berate him. She said, "What color is your house? Tell me the color of your house," he remembered. She went on a tirade and just said, "Just answer the question." He lives in a condo, not a house. I told her I was angry and said, "You need to do your homework before you pick up the phone." I told her I was going to call back to Salva's office. That's what I did. And I expressed my concern and said, "You have sloppy accounting. You don't take anything seriously. And I should go to the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. That's the regulator that makes sure accounting is done properly. I think some of my terminology would have indicated that I wasn't a layman. After I worked for 20 years in corporate controllership, after all, these errors become material after a while." His call set off alarm bells within Comcast. Now they go after his job. His lawyer describes what happens next. Someone within Salva's office did internet research on him, O'Rourke, the Cubs customer, and determined he was a PricewaterhouseCoopers employee. Because Comcast was a major consultant service client of PwC, someone from the controller's office contacted Mr. Joseph Atkinson, a partner at PwC, and falsely told him O'Rourke had invoked his employment with PricewaterhouseCoopers and had obtained to somehow obtain leverage in his negotiations with Comcast. Mr. Atkinson informed Mr. O'Rourke that his client was very valuable. The Philadelphia's office, largest client with billings, client was very angry as a result of Mr. O'Rourke's complaints, and that Mr. O'Rourke was not to speak with anyone from Comcast. While all this was happening, Comcast continued to communicate sporadically and ineffectively with O'Rourke, setting up 2 service appointments that they missed without explanation on February 7th and February 11th. So you're getting the sense. He did eventually cut all ties sorry, just getting up for a second. He did cut all ties to Comcast in March, but that was after he got fired. His job at PricewaterhouseCoopers was terminated, and that is after he was subject to an internal ethics investigation as a result of that call, and he had to even call AT&T just so he could get internet service at his house. The senior deputy corporate counsel responded saying Comcast didn't receive the letter, so they sent a second letter. All this bullshit, Comcast just, they're kind of playing dumb, right? The response letter does acknowledge Comcast communicated to PwC that a person claiming to be a PwC employee had called our chief accounting executive's office with complaints about his cable service and bills and yelled at our employees who tried to assist him. Nathan asserts those statements were neither untrue nor underprivileged. As such, they cannot be defamatory. That's one of the things in his lawsuit now is when he's saying that Comcast saying he yelled at the employees is untrue and defamatory. Now O'Rourke wanted $100,000 in compensation. He wanted his job back. Why ask Comcast about a job? Because Ryan tells ours, PwC believed Comcast, and we didn't feel that contacting them would do any good until Comcast retracted their defamation or until we get the tapes through litigation. Comcast has those tapes. Comcast declined to respond to specific questions. The company spokesman saying, our customers deserve the very best experience every time they interact with us. We have previously apologized to Mr. O'Rourke, but we will review his lawyer's letter and respond as quickly as possible. They did not respond to questions. They're the most dishonest, unethical bunch he's ever encountered. He'd like to see them investigated for repeated overbilling. He sent a 10-page letter to Congress, Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, detailing not only his story, but articulating his concerns about these really bizarre Comcast practices. Mr. O'Rourke was employed. Now, this is from PricewaterhouseCoopers' spokesperson, sending a statement. The firm terminated his employment after an internal investigation concluded Mr. O'Rourke violated PricewaterhouseCoopers' ethical standards and practices applicable to all of our people. The firm has explicit policies regarding employee conduct. We train our people in those policies and we enforce them. Mr. O'Rourke's violation of these policies was the sole reason for his termination. Later that day, Comcast issued a public apology on its company blog. It was a half-ass apology, calling the treatment of O'Rourke completely unacceptable, and noted, we also want to clarify that nobody at Comcast asked him to be fired. O'Rourke's lawyer responded to the statement expressing disappointment. It's a hollow apology, and the lawsuit still stands. That's the setup. That article was just the first part. Now, the settlement failed. The new March 27th amended complaint is largely identical, except it adds a new cause of action against Comcast, listed now as number 6 of 7, invasion of privacy, public disclosure of private facts. He has an astonishing amount of documentation, as we've sort of pointed out. And by the way, while this has gone on, Larry Salva has been promoted to executive vice president of Comcast. They say because he's one of the most outstanding and respected chief accounting officers and controllers in corporate America. Of course, he got this guy fired. The privacy breach that O'Rourke refers to is the instance where Comcast characterized his phone call to the company in a way that was unflattering to him. We don't normally comment on pending litigation. As we have said, there are clear deficiencies in the customer service that we delivered to Mr. O'Rourke. Comcast had nothing to do with PricewaterhouseCoopers' decision to terminate Mr. O'Rourke. Once again, we apologize for his service issues. We said we were determined to get to the bottom of exactly what happened with their service, and we are doing that. As a part of this investigation, we have listened to recorded calls between Mr. O'Rourke and customer service representatives. His treatment of them and his language is totally unspeakable. That's where this company stepped over the line. At no time did he give his consent for Comcast to release or in any way characterize the contents of his customer service calls. And it falsely portrays Mr. O'Rourke as a person lacking in decency, ethics, and integrity. They think it's going to cost or take 2 more years for this to go through. People who hate Comcast hate Comcast. This guy was treated so badly and lost his job as a result of. I mean, I'm not even interested in their claims that we didn't ask for him to be fired, because I think it's clear. Some guy high up. I mean, this happens all the time. I've seen this happen personally, where a high up in one company contacts a higher up in another company and says, hey, put this guy through the ringer, fire him. get rid of him. He's a bad seed or whatever because he's rocking the boat. And why is he rocking the boat, by the way? Even if he was angry at the time when they're claiming he was unspeakably angry, it had been a year. They've been delivering shit to his house. They've been overbilling him. They dinged his credit. They sent collection agencies after him. Tell me that is not like beyond defamatory. That is practically harassment. And it's just sickening. I mean, it is really, really very offensive. By the way, call me 310-776-5869. That's 310-776-Coons. You can also tweet me at Sebastian Coons on Twitter. I am trying to activate my ridiculous note-taking apparatus. It is not going well. I have a million other stories to bring to you, including a couple of stories where you can actually hear the calls, and we're going to hear the calls from... here we go. Let's look at these recorded calls from this home installation guy. Well, let's see here. The people who wanted to cancel their service. This is the most famous one. Oh, good Lord. I don't know what's happening with this goddamn software. It is completely hanging at the time when I really wanted it to work, and I have all my little websites and everything flagged here. It's a very famous story. We saw it go by on NPR, I believe it was, probably in the past 6 months, I believe. It was, let's just go Comcast customer service disconnect call. Bam, there it is. All right. We're going to listen to it. Now, they're embarrassed about it, blah, 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 but we're just going to hear, this is from the guy named Ryan Block, a customer, and we're going to listen to this phone call. I mean, you may have heard it. This is the most famous one. So let's go ahead and switch over to it here, and you can hear what I'm hearing and see what I'm seeing. This was 10 minutes into the call. The recording started, according to this. In just a moment, we will see. I wonder if Comcast is going after me because I'm highlighting their bad service on my show. It may well be the case. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for that to play, it almost seems like that's what's happening, doesn't it? I don't really need to play it. I could have actually just downloaded it, I suppose, and played it from here, but then they probably would have just cut off the broadcast. If you thought you were mad at Comcast before, listen to this. This is the Huffington Post. Maybe we'll just read about it since they don't seem to want the call to be able to play. This is dated August of last year. An Oregon man who goes by Tim Davis online published a recording. This is another recording, not the same one from the guy named Ryan Block. I'm going to let that continue to load and see if it doesn't try to play. That's the famous one. This is the other one where Comcast negotiates. Let's see if this will play any more easily. Okay, well, that's an ad for an attorney. Let's not listen to that. Tim was billed $132 for failing to install his modem properly. We see all these charges here. He was charged another $50 for having Comcast set up his Wi-Fi network, which Tim had done himself. So, again, it's pretty...
Ladies and gentlemen, Timothy Davis here. Sorry, I know I haven't posted a video in damn near forever, and I'm really, truly, ostensibly sorry. My activity, meaning that about every hour or two, my internet would drop out for 5 to 10 minutes at a time. This is extremely frustrating when you're working from home and rely on the internet to do presentations, have conference calls, and generally get shit done. I called Comcast support and they verified the issue on their end. I validated that the issue existed everywhere in the house and that there were no problems with my coax jack, power supply, Ethernet cable, or computer. This means that the issue must be quote-unquote upstream, as it were, which means that the problem is on Comcast's end. The tech support guy agreed and said he'd send out a tech for me, although it'd take 4 days to get anyone out. Now, the rep said it would be free, but I've dealt with Comcast enough times that I knew enough I ought to record the call. I'll play for you the segment where he verifies that the tech will be out for free, but first I want to inform you that since Comcast records all calls and informs you of that fact in their IVR, my recording of the call constitutes dual-party consent, since both parties on the call are aware that it's being recorded, and thus no law is being violated by my rebroadcasting my recording of this call. Have a listen. So just to confirm, I won't be charged for having a technician out to check the line, right?
For an outside visit, no.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Give me 1 moment to notate the account properly.
Okay. So the tech shows up an hour after the scheduled appointment. Checks the outside line, asks to come in and verify if the issue is resolved, double checks both my existing coax jacks to validate the solution, and then leaves. The tech was really quite rude while he was here, but I mostly left him to his business because I'd let someone spit in my face if it meant that I'd have my precious internet working again. So the problem is fixed and all seems well with the world, except that about a week later I check my bill and I see these charges. I've got a screenshot in the video so you can see it there, but it amounts to about $182 for what they called a failed self-install, failed video self-install kit, and wireless network setup. Now, I installed the service myself. There was no failure there. The Comcast line going into the apartment complex had a fault in it, but that had nothing to do with my install. Further, I did not need any help setting up my wireless network. It was still set up from before I moved. The tech and I never even discussed Wi-Fi. This means that the tech lied in his notes, so I call support. Support tells me that the tech claims to have installed a new coax jack, which he legally couldn't even have done without my landlord's permission, by the way. And he also claimed to have set up my connection, my wireless internet connection, and installed my connection the same way I did already. I tell the agent on the phone that everything is plugged into the same jack as before, nothing new has been installed, and my service was already set up. The tech was out to fix a problem with the Comcast copper going into the apartment, not to install my service. The tech did not listen. I informed the tech that he can look into my technical support history and see that I had previously installed the service and did not need installation help, but needed help instead with the outside Comcast line. The tech still did not listen. The tech dropped me back into the main queue or something, but it just left me on hold for about an hour until I eventually hung up. I called back and spoke with a supervisor. Finally, here is the recording of that call. So I would like to get these charges refunded because they're not valid charges. Claims that he did things that he didn't do, and I can prove that he didn't do them.
Okay, the wireless network setup, I can see here that it is for free. The $49.95 charge was, we also deduct $49.95, so it's for free. So it's the wireless network setup doesn't have a charge. So it is the $50 AT&T failed self-install and the failed video SIK. Check that.
If you're looking into my account history, you should be able to see the logs with technical support where I called proving that my network was working and that the self-install was successsuul.
Okay, let me check that for you, okay? Please stay on the line. Hello, thank you for waiting.
Sure.
Okay, this is what I can do for you. Instead of removing those charges on the account, that is total of $82. What I can do is I can give you the free Blast Plus internet service for 12 months.
Okay. So that means I wouldn't... What would I be paying for those 12 months if we did that?
Because I can see here that you are paying $5 for 12 months. So we're going to deduct $5 on your bill every month. And if you total it, it will be $60.
No, that's not acceptable.
So do you want the total of $82?
Well, the charges are $99.99 plus $32.
No, it's not $99.99 because the wireless network setup is for free. Then the $99.99 that you are paying, it's only $50 because we give a $49.99 discount. So you are only charged $50.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'd like a credit on the account for $82.
Okay, so I'm going to apply the free Blast Plus for 12 months, and then I'm going to credit the remaining, so that it will total of $82. So
No,
$60 total.
No, that's not what I asked for. I asked for a credit of $82.
Okay, because there's no way that we can remove those charges on the account.
Well, then
That's
just
what
issue
you're
a
trying-
credit
that's
for
what we
$82
can do?
directly. If you're not, that's fine if
Okay.
you're not able to remove the charges, but if you issue a credit on the line for the same amount, that'll be just fine.
Yes, there's no way that we can issue credit because of that. Because we can see that it is a valid charge on the account. Because
No,
we
it's
set
not a
out
valid
the
charge.
condition. It doesn't mean
Hang on, I
it
think
doesn't
you're
mean that
mistaken. it's not a valid charge because I made it very clear to you. You can see proof that it's not a valid charge in my account history. And I also have proof in the form of a recording with your agent that scheduled the service call for me. So that's two ways that you can verify that it's not valid charges, that they're not valid charges. So you can do that and verify that they're not valid charges, and then as an exception, because clearly this is a mistake on either Comcast's end or the technician's end, you can issue the credit.
There's no way that I can issue the credit because even though it says failed self-installation, every time we send out the technician, there's a $50 charge for that.
Well, I have a call recorded where the agent tells me in no uncertain terms that there will be no charge. So I don't care what you're.
The employee.
I don't care. No, listen to me. Listen to me. Listen to me. You cannot bill me. I don't care if you give feedback to the employee. You cannot bill me for something that I did not authorize. You cannot tell me that it's free and then bill me anyway, and then tell me that you cannot unbill me or credit me for the bill. You can't do that. It's illegal. Do you understand?
I apologize for that, but there's no way that I can credit the account.
I'm not going to pay for something that I was told would be free.
We value you as a customer. That's why I am trying to check what I can give you, what I can credit to the account. That's why I'm trying to remove the charge for the Blast Plus for 12 months.
I appreciate that. That's not what I want. I don't care about $5 a month. I care about the $82 that I'm being charged for something that didn't happen, for something that I can prove to you didn't happen, and that you can even verify on your end was impossible to have happened.
Okay, we sent out the technician. So every time we send out the technician, there's a charge for that one. So even though there's a failed installation kit or not,
here, I'm going to play something for you. Hang on one second. I understand what you're saying, but I think that you're confused here. So let me make it very clear. I'm going to put this on speaker, and this is a recording of the call where I scheduled the technician to come out. Are you listening?
Yes, go ahead.
So just to confirm, I won't be charged for having a technician out to check the line, right? Okay. Cool. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, so as you can see, I've got that call recorded, and the agent clearly said that I would not be charged for having the technician out. Now, I don't care if you have a policy that says that you have to charge for every time a technician comes out. I, the customer, did not agree to that. So you can't do that. You cannot promise me as a representative, you cannot have a representative promise me one thing and then give me something totally different that involves charging me $82 for nothing. Further, you said there's only a $50 charge for having a technician out, but I was charged $82. So I don't even know what you're talking about here. Okay? I don't care what your policy is. You need to refund that charge because I'm not going to pay it.
Okay, I'll check what I can do for you, okay? I'll investigate on this one and I'll check. And I'll be calling you after 30 minutes to 1 hour. Can you please give me the best number to call you?
My number is 858.
All right. Well, we don't need to give him his number here.
But before you go, can I get your name or something like that, please?
My name is Daisy, and my employee number is number 5, the pound sign, and then the dollar sign.
$5
I'll
dollar.
what I can do for you. Just wait for my call back within 30 minutes to 1 hour, okay?
Okay, if I don't hear back from you within an hour by 3:17 p.m. Pacific time, what should I do?
I assure you that I will be calling you back.
Okay. Well, I thank you very much for your time. I look forward to hearing from you soon.
So okay, we've
So
heard
the supervisor tells
we've
me
heard the setup. I want to hear the tail end of it. It's only 2 more minutes, so do stick with me.
it's literally impossible to credit those charges back to my account. That doesn't really sound right, does it? When I eventually get a call back from her about half an hour late, she still asserts that it's literally not possible to credit the charges back to my account. I add in the call recording functionality a little bit late into the call, but but here's that recording. Again, note that about 1 minute into the recording, you can hear her say that by lying to me and telling me that it wasn't possible to refund those charges, she was, and I quote, negotiating. Enjoy.
For the recording, I just added in the recording functionality, and what you missed was she called me back half an hour late and said that she still wasn't able to refund or credit any of the charges back to my account. So we are waiting. They said that wasn't acceptable, and that she needed to escalate the call further. So that's what we're waiting on.
Hello, thank you for waiting.
Hello.
Yes, we already credited the $82 on the account. Within 24 to 48 hours, that credit will appear on your ledger, and you can also see that credit on the next month's bill.
Okay. Why were you not able to do it before?
Because we tried to negotiate, and again, that is a valid charges. But since I advised my manager that there is a recording and you were misinformed, then she is the one who can approve that $82.
Okay, number one, as I explained to you, it was not a valid charge. And number two, you're telling me that if I didn't have a recording of that call, you wouldn't have been able to do it. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, that's the part.
Recording this call too.
That's what I wanted to hear. Was the part when when you saw the transcript of it there, he literally gets her to say Daisy in Thailand or whatever. Not a bigot, but I think most people have problems with the around the world outsourcing of much of this customer service. And frankly, that's probably the source of a lot of the infuriation, a lot of the miscommunication, a lot of the misunderstanding, a lot of the failed promises and all of that other sort of thing. Because I was an English teacher, I get a sense of how good people's English is, very reasonable, quick time. And she didn't speak great English, but she, maybe some of these people speak even worse English. I don't know. I was amused as heck that if you didn't have a recording of the call, you wouldn't be able to do it. So for the love of God, record every call on your calls to your Comcast or your Time Warner. I did get this other one to load, so let's listen to just a bit of this. This is the famous one. This is the one that went viral around the world. It was on NPR. It was on all the news outlets because of how absolutely mind-boggling this guy's technique is. He's one of the retention people, right? And as we do this, you're going to see me scrolling through what is actually apparently the internal booklet, the internal handbook for Comcast retention customer service people, the ones who are there to prevent you from leaving at any cost. And we're going to listen and sort of look at that right now. So here's the call. The recording starts about 10 minutes into the call. The guy's wife was so frustrated, she handed the phone to the husband.
Next week, you're going to be 105 megabits per second for your internet. Astound will not give you that speed.
Okay, we'd like to disconnect. We'd like to disconnect, please.
Okay, so why is it that you don't want the faster speed? Help me understand why you don't want faster internet.
Help me understand why you can't just disconnect us.
Because my job is to have a conversation with you about keeping your service, about finding out why it is that you're looking to cancel the service.
I don't understand. Is this
If you don't want to
for
talk to me, you can definitely go into the Comcast store and disconnect your service there. Okay,
You're just asking to
kill two birds with one stone. You got to return that cable card to the store anyway.
We're actually going to just mail the cable card in, but if you can just please cancel our service, that would be great. That's all. That is all we want.
We're actually not able to return a cable card by mail.
Then I will send someone like a TaskRabbit to go return the cable card for us.
TaskRabbit.
I don't personally intend to go return the cable card. That's why we're probably not going to be canceling in store. So that's why I need you to cancel by phone. So can you cancel us by phone? The answer is yes, correct?
It sounds like you don't want to go over this information with me. If you're not wanting to go over that information, then that's the easiest way to get your account disconnected.
I am declining to state why we are leaving Comcast because I don't owe you an explanation. So if you can please just proceed to the next question. If you have to fill out your form, that's fine. Please proceed to the next question, and we'll attempt to answer that if possible.
So, being that we are the #1 provider of internet and TV service in the entire country,
Okay. Why is it that you're not wanting to have the #1 rated internet service, #1 rated TV service available?
I'm declining to state we're switching providers. Can you please go to the next question?
Okay. So what is it about Account that's making you want to change to them?
I'm declining to state. Can you please go to the next question so we can cancel our service?
Okay. So, okay. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out here what it is about Comcast service that you're not liking, that you're not wanting to keep. I mean, why is it that you don't want to keep that service?
This phone call is a really actually amazing representative example of why I don't want to stay with Comcast. So can you please cancel our service?
So from okay, but I'm trying to help you. Okay.
Okay. The way that you can help me right now.
Finding answers by doing all this.
The way that you can help me is by disconnecting our service. That's how you can help
How
me.
is that helping you though?
Because that's what I want.
Explain to me how that's helping
That's
you.
what I want.
Okay, so why is that what you want?
Because that's what I want.
Okay, so, I mean, there has to be some sort of reason behind it. That's what we're trying to find out. We just want to find out what it is that's causing a customer that's been with us for a long time to leave.
Because that's what we want.
Okay? I mean, you've been with us since around 2005, 9 years. You've been a Comcast customer. Okay? After a decade, okay, clearly the service was working great for you. You weren't having any problems. So now all of a sudden you're moving. Okay, you've kept this service in multiple addresses. All of a sudden you're moving and something's making you want to change. What is it that's making you want to change that?
Because that's what we want to do.
Okay, why is that what you want to do?
That's none of your business. Your business is to disconnect us, please.
As a company that is a cable and internet provider, primarily, okay, that is our business, to know why our customers are leaving. Okay, if we don't know why our customers are leaving, how are we supposed to make it a better experience for you next time? Okay, when a down turns out to have
that's a fantastic question and something that you can hire a firm to go figure out. For right now, I'm just a customer calling in, attempting to disconnect service. That is something that you can do, right? You said that you can't disconnect service. Yes?
Okay.
Yes?
Well, I mean, I just don't want to lose you as a customer.
Is that something you can do?
benefit greatly from transferring your service to your new address.
Is that something you can do? Can you disconnect us by phone? Can you disconnect our service? Yes or no?
Okay. So, what I'm trying to find out is why
Yes
don't you
or
want
no?
the same offer
Can you
brand new customers
disconnect
gonna
our
get
service?
faster internet than anyone can provide you? Okay. Why don't you want those services?
Because I'm not interested in your services any longer. Can
Okay,
you?
so you're not interested in the fastest internet in the country.
Nope, not interested.
Okay, why is that?
Can you disconnect us by phone? Are you capable in your system of disconnecting our service? Yes or no?
Well, I'm just trying to get some information to find out why it is that we're losing you as a
Please
customer.
answer my question. Are you capable by phone of disconnecting our service?
It's something we can do. I mean,
Okay.
rarely do we do it.
That's something you can do.
Rarely
I
do we
would
do it.
appreciate you now doing that.
Okay, so
Please proceed in disconnecting our service.
So what is it about this other internet provider, this other TV provider, that's making it sound so much better than the #1 TV service available?
I don't know. It's totally arbitrary decision.
Okay, so why not keep what you know works, what you know is a good service?
Because we're not doing that. So please proceed in
So if you
disconnecting our
don't want a
service.
good service, you don't want something that works?
No, I don't. I guess I don't want something that works.
So why don't you want something that's a good service and something that works?
I mean, is this like a joke? Did we call, is this like, are you punking us right now?
I'm trying to get information, okay? I'm trying to help our company be better. That's my job. Okay?
I can guarantee you right now, you are doing an incredibly good job at helping your company be worse.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm terribly sorry that it feels like I mean, it sounds to you like it feels like I'm trying to argue. I'm just trying to help you out and get some information. We'll just bypass all this information. I'll go ahead and disconnect this service. Okay?
Fantastic,
I mean, it's
thank
really a shame to see you notice something that can't give you what we can.
Okay, well, if that winds up being the case, then we will call you guys back up and we'll reconnect.
I mean, you're not going to get the 100,000 free on-demand titles. You're not going to get 105 megabits per second for your internet. Guaranteed speed at 105. Okay? I mean, no one else can guarantee their speeds like we can. Okay? So, I mean, we can definitely transfer this over to your new address and get you a lower rate. I could save you almost 100, actually more than $100.
I like the comments down here.
I think you're more than $100 per month. Okay, doing that transfer. Okay, get you internet that's 5-6 times faster than anything any other
Are you done?
Okay, it's the number one TV service available. Okay, and what about those savings, those services? Are you not wanting?
Are you done?
What makes you not want that service?
You literally just a moment ago said that you would go ahead and disconnect our service, and that's what we're gonna need to do. So can you go ahead and do that now?
I'm working on that process.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. At this point, I want to hear it end. I want to hear it.
Can you tell me how much longer? Can you tell me how much longer it's gonna take?
Okay. I'm just asking some questions while I'm going through that process.
I understand. Can you tell me how much longer? Can you tell me how much
a couple
longer?
more minutes here. Okay.
Okay, a couple more minutes. Thank you.
Okay, so what about the service? Is it that's caused me to want to change? What about
I'm
offers that we have available to you?
I'm good. I'm just going to wait until you can confirm that we've canceled service. So I'm just going to hang out here.
Well, you're all set. You know what? It's disconnected. I'm really sorry to see you go to something that can't give you what we can. But I'd like to thank you very much for being a great part of Comcast. Have a wonderful day.
Can you give me a confirmation number for the cancellation of service?
I don't have a confirmation number.
Well, how do I have confirmation that we've got
You'll
service
receive a
canceled?
final statement in about 3 weeks.
A final statement in 3 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Again, I want to thank you very much for being a great part of Comcast. Have a wonderful day.
And just so I can confirm, you said that your name is...
Correct.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. You're very welcome. Have a great day.
You too.
You gotta love the end of that. The have a great day. It's so cheerful and happy at the end. But I mean, if you didn't see the article I was scrolling through during that, let me switch back to it because it does talk about, and I think this is probably a good point to raise. Not that asshole was in the right even a little bit, because it's Comcast. I mean, I felt bad for the guy because those people at the retention desk have one mandate. Keep them. Keep them. Do not let them go. Do not let them go. Make them say what they don't like and fix it. If their bill is too expensive, give them a discount. If they're moving, promise you can, do this. And then literally, if you saw the handbook I switched to, I forget if it was Ars Technica. Who exactly is it here that has the handbook? This is Comcast's internal handbook for talking customers out of quitting. And, this is the ask targeted questions, set the agenda, take control, consider unstated needs, active listening, take ownership, make an offer, overcome the objections, right? Close the save, confirm the details, end on a positive note, documentation. Greet the customer, avoid trap words like disconnect, downgrade, cancel. It's pretty standard call center stuff. There was even an article about some guy who felt sorry for the guy on the other end of the phone, the guy who was kind of being an asshole because he's literally in kind of a no-win situation. If the customer succeeds in quitting Comcast, then he doesn't get money, or he gets fired, or something bad happens to him. And then here, something very useful, when they cannot try to work around what you're saying. If the customer is moving in with an existing Comcast customer, if the customer is moving to a non-Comcast area, both of which you have to verify that, account holder is deceased, incapacitated. I've said this for years. Just say the person is fucking dead. I don't care if it's a telemarketer. I don't care, if it's a person, any kind of person, just say they're dead. They almost never really have an answer to that, and it kind of stops them in their tracks. Temporary seasonal disconnect or seasonal suspend plan not available in their area, natural disaster, or if the customer doesn't know what address they're moving to. So there's a little bit of a useful tip there for you, perhaps. Here is the other one. That's not the other one. Here is the other one. This guy, Vincent Ferrari, in 2006 tried to cancel his AOL. This is supposed to be mostly about Comcast.
Online is famous for the expression, "You've got mail," but what Vincent Ferrari got when he tried to cancel his AOL account was a lot of frustration. It took him 15 minutes just to talk to a real person.
We won't listen to the whole thing, but we'll just listen to a clip of
Hi,
it.
this is John at AOL. How may I help you today?
I want to cancel my account.
Sorry to hear that. Let's pull your account up here real quick. Can I have your name, please?
Vincent Ferrari.
Had this account for a long time?
Yep.
It's just quite a bit. What was causing you to turn this off today?
I just don't use it anymore.
Do you have a high-speed connection like the DSL or cable?
Yep.
How have you had that?
Years.
Years.
Well, actually, I'm showing a lot of usage on this account.
Yeah, a long time ago, not recently.
Okay. I mean, is there a problem with the software itself?
No, I don't use it. I don't need it. I don't want it. I just don't need it anymore.
So when you use it, so I mean, use the computer, I'm saying, is that for business or for?
Dude, what difference does it make? I don't want the AOL account anymore. Can we please cancel it?
Last year was 540. Last month was 545 hours of usage.
I don't know how to make this any clearer, so I'm just going to say it one last time. Cancel the account.
Well, explain to me why.
I'm not explaining anything to you. Cancel the account.
Well, what's the matter, man? So, I mean,
What's the matter, man? I'm trying to help here.
You're helping me with.
I am trying to
helping me. Listen, I called to cancel the account. Helping me would be canceling the account. Please help me and
No, it wouldn't actually.
cancel
Turn
my
off
account.
your account.
Cancel the
The worst
account.
thing that.
Cancel the account.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to figure.
Cancel the account.
I
I
mean,
don't know how to make this any clearer for you.
it's, in one sense, it's infuriating, but in another sense, it's delicious because it's like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And these companies have these people at these retention desks kind of backed into a corner, and I believe that's kind of a fair point. Where was the article? Let me just pull up the article that was actually pity, sympathy for the Comcast rep from hell. Here it is. All right. I mean, who could have sympathy for that guy? Not the guy we were just listening to, but the guy right before it, the guy with his wife and the Comcast guy, right? Let's switch to this article because this is a pretty interestingly well-written kind of a blog. It's essentially what you think about it. It's the solid 8 minutes of empathetic pain. It talks about blah, 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 canceling a service, blah, 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 blah. The rep, when he demands to be convinced of something that is both his company's fault and none of his company's business, like an abusive partner. That's how I interpreted this call anyway. Judging by Twitter, many others have this experience. But if you understand this call as a desperate interaction between two people rather than a business transaction, the pain is mutual. The customer service rep is trapped in an impossible position in which any cancellation, even one he can't control, will reflect poorly on his performance. By the time the news of this lost customer reaches his supervisor, it'll be data. It'll be the wrong data, and it'll likely be factored into a score or a record that is either directly or indirectly tied to his compensation or continued employment. I mean, it's kind of what I was saying. Now he's on the internet, famous forever. I bet if we dug, we could find his name. I don't think his name is important because, again, he was backed into a corner, and it really kind of sucked. Some of the other things I wanted to bring to you, that first story is the one I feel like is the worst because Comcast does a lot of, bad things, but getting a guy fired from his job is just about the lowest you can sink. They swear they didn't do it, but, I think we all know that what else are they going to say? They're not going to admit they did it. They don't admit when they're wrong. Here is one of the other things when they did admit they're wrong, and this will dovetail into the Comcast apologies before we get out of here, because this is another really good one. Comcast apologizes to a customer, this is just this year, I believe, for changing her name to Asshole. Hopefully we'll see it in this video here. Comcast regrets calling this customer an asshole. Isn't that nice of them? We have a beer ad that's going to play for 30 seconds, but let's look at this. The story is first reported on a consumer advocate blog by Christopher Elliott. The customer's wife, Lisa Brown, told Elliott she was never rude to the Comcast customers, and yet, if you look at the actual bill, hopefully it will load here. Here we go. Asshole Brown. You see the Comcast bill here? Here's the whole bill right here in the top corner. Asshole Brown is the name of the customer. That's the name of the customer, according to this account.
Bad. Imagine your last name is Brown. Instead of your first name, your Comcast bill is addressed to, I'm only going to say this once, a-hole.
I was completely shocked.
2 weeks earlier, Lisa Brown of Spokane, Washington had called Comcast to cut back on their service to save money.
I was very polite.
No wonder the A word peeking through the plastic window on the envelope left her flabbergasted.
I felt like it was just like retaliation because I didn't take what they offered me.
So Lisa marched down to the local Comcast office and just showed them the bill, saying, "Look at this."
They looked and said, "Oh my gosh."
They were very apologetic, but Lisa wanted to talk to someone high up. When Senior VP Charlie Heron called,
assured me that the employee was let go.
Lisa says Comcast redeemed itself and promised a refund what the Browns had paid for the past 2 years' service. She's expecting a nearly $3,900 check.
Of course, with the right name.
Just this past summer, Comcast got hit with a ton of bad publicity when one of their representatives got caught on tape. When a tech journalist wanted to disconnect his service, a retention specialist spent almost 20 minutes trying to talk him out of it.
Okay, so why you just think you don't want the faster speed? Help me understand why
Again.
you want faster internet.
Help me understand why you can't just disconnect us.
I'm trying to help our company be better. That's my job.
I can guarantee you right now you're doing an incredibly good job at helping your company be worse.
At least the post office did a good job of delivering the letter addressed to Toll.
Gosh, imagine what the mailman was thinking.
Ginny Mo, CNN, New York.
Okay, I love Jeannie Mose for one thing. Jeannie Mose delivers solid gold exclusively for CNN. She's one of the great things about CNN. One of the only great things about CNN. They swear to God they fired that person. The company says it fired the employee responsible and is looking at some technical fixes that would prevent this sort of thing again. Yeah, shouldn't there be a thing that prevents you from changing customer's name to asshole in software? Last but not least, in the last 4 minutes of the show, I highlighted and copied three or four of the apologies that I've read. See if these don't ring similar to you. In the case of Mr. Davis, I'm not sure which one it was, one of the customer service phone calls. This is not the type of experience we want our customers to have, and we will reach out to Mr. Davis to apologize to him. Our policy is not to charge for service visits that are related to problems with our equipment or network. We are looking into this to understand what happened and why it happened. I think that was the original guy I played who had the recording of the call that was what allowed him to get the refund. The second one is the Mr. O'Rourke apology, the guy who got fired for calling somebody really high up in the Comcast accounting department. What happened with Mr. O'Rourke's service is completely unacceptable. Despite our attempts to address Mr. O'Rourke's issues, we simply dropped the ball and did not make things right. Mr. O'Rourke deserves another apology from us, and we're making this one publicly. We also want to clarify that nobody at Comcast asked him to be fired. Yeah. We're also determined to get to the bottom of exactly what happened with this service, figure out what went wrong at every point along the way, and fix any underlying issues. We need to make sure every interaction is excellent, from the moment a customer orders a new service to the installation to the way we communicate them to how we respond to any issues. We're holding ourselves accountable, and we're working hard to make real improvements across the board. Here is somebody named Mr. Spain. This is one I don't think I played for you. Under no circumstances is this the experience we want our customers to have. Our goal is to be respectful of our customers' time and fix any issues the first time. We take this very seriously, and after investigating Mr. Spain's situation, we want to apologize to him and acknowledge that his experience was completely unacceptable. And last but not least, the guy, Mr. Block. We are very embarrassed by the way our employees spoke with Mr. Block and are contacting him to personally apologize. The way in which our representative communicated with him is unacceptable and not consistent with how we train our customer service representatives. More on that in a second. We are investigating this situation and will take quick action. While the overwhelming majority of our employees work very hard to do the right thing every day, we are using this very unfortunate experience to reinforce how important it is to always treat our customers with the utmost respect. So is there a bit of sameness to that? Am I nuts? Am I the nuts one for sounding like that's all a bunch of corporate bullshit? We reach out to them. They're saying this is not the experience we want our customers to have. And the last one suggested that this is not how we train our employees. But again, we've seen paperwork that suggests not only is that in fact how they train their employees, they'll get punished if they don't manage to successfully retain these customers. I don't know what to tell you, man. That's some stuff that the only silver lining here at all, is that as we started off the hour by saying, the Comcast people, as of this past month or two, have said they're hiring a whole bunch of new people. There's a new guy in charge. We're going to really work hard to actually turn things around. Thousands of new people are going to be hired and trained. And the other silver lining is that Comcast's merger with Time Warner was turned down and failed to happen. Actually, it wasn't turned down. It was going to get turned down, and then they ended up withdrawing it. I think in part because of the shitty customer service. I should do a thing on Time Warner. There is not Time Warner in any of the places where I've lived. I've never had access to Time Warner cable, so they've been a little off my radar, but being the cable company that they are, I'm almost willing to bet money that their experience, while not as famous as Comcast's bad customer service train wrecks over and over and over again, they probably have something comparable. We'll look into that. It is 11 o'clock. Join me in 23 hours, 10 p.m. West Coast time, 1 a.m. East Coast time, and 0500 GMT for cBas After Dark. Good night.